Good evening, YouTube, BookTube. This is Johnny from the Hermit Hut. It is 6:22 at night here in Southwest Michigan. It is February the 21st, 2024. It is a Wednesday night here. And I wasn't sure if I was going to make a video, but I got books piling up, used books, thrift store books. And I want to put these down on the lower level. I got these today at the Bluestocking bookstore, which I've mentioned over the years. I take books there for in-store credit. I go there at least maybe once or twice a month to see what they have. They have books for 50 cents. I have in-store credit, and I like looking at books. The other day I went to Legacy. And I went to Action House, which is just around where we live. And I got a lot of books at Action House, which I'll show. I got a big stack of books. I got a lot of used books. and I haven't shown you all the books from Cheap Stacks either. When we went to Grand Haven, Cheap Stacks is the district library used bookstore down in the lower level of their main library, the LOITT, L-O-I-T-T, LOITT District Library. I haven't shown those either. They're piling up. Plus I got new books that came in the mail. So there's always books. If you're a book lover, you know, I am a true bookworm. I mean, that's what I am. I'm a reader, I'm a writer. It's just what I am. And I never wanted to be anything except a gospel minister, evangelist, a lover of Jesus. And if that never, well, I am a lover of Jesus, but I never got ordained into the gospel ministry. But every Christian is a prophet, priest, and king, the priesthood of all believers. But I do believe in the institution of ministry. I know that there are some Christians, like Plymouth Brethren, who don't believe that there is a professional group of ministers. But anyway, that's another thing. What this video is about is to show you the used books I got at the Bluestocking's bookstore today. Well, I mentioned I was going to get new glasses. And I went to, the other day, was it last week, I went to my eye doctor, got a prescription, and today I went to a place and got myself ready for some new glasses, which I'll pick up in 2 weeks. So after I did that, I came home because Carol had not come home, and I was wondering where she was. So I drove home, just to make sure. And when I got here, she was driving up. She went out for breakfast with a friend, and then she went and visit somebody. So, and then I left and I went to Bluestockings to see if they got any used books. As far as my diary for February 2024, I ended tonight on page 162 for the year 2024. Tomorrow, I got it all ready. Tomorrow will be February the 22nd, 2024. Today it was really nice. Today was in the 50s. It was somewhat cloudy, but warm weather. The chipmunks came out, which you can always is a sign of spring or spring coming. When the chipmunks come out to look for corn or sunflower seeds, and the birds are feeding one another. They're becoming couples, and they start chasing each other, getting aggressive, the birds. And so spring is going to come, which is a blessing that we have 4 seasons, not an eternal winter or an everlasting state of darkness. Anyway, first of all, I got a book in the mail that last week, and I didn't know this was out. And then I came across it in Amazon, and I immediately ordered it, and I got it in a couple of days. And it's a part of a 3-part novel. It's hard to explain what it is. It's like one novel with 3 parts. Anyway, this is the final 3rd volume, Remembered Part by Rodrigo Fresan. I've shown you the other 2 volumes over the years, which I've read, and I started reading this week, volume 3. This is translated from the Spanish by Will Vanderhyden, and so if you go, this is published by Open Letter Publishers, which is a part of they do translations, and they come out of the University of Rochester, and they translate all kinds of books out of other languages, and they have been translating Fresan. This is the first one, Invented Part, which came out, when this one came out? This one came out in 2014. I read it, really enjoyed it. Then they came out with the Dream Part. I have other novels by him downstairs that they've translated. This one came out in 2017. Now they were already out in Spanish, but these have just been translated in English the last, well, probably the last 8 years. And this is Remembered Part. I think this one came out in 2022. Yeah. But I didn't know it was out, and I've been reading it, really enjoying it. It's over 2,000 pages, which I've really enjoyed reading these. You can find Open Letter has a YouTube site where they discuss all 3. It's like a podcast where they go through these three parts of this. They go through the invented part. They have podcasts about 35 minutes. The guy named Chad Post, who started Open Letter Publishers, him and another guy, and they have sometimes they have other people, and they go through these novels like 25. Well, they go through like 85 pages, the first 80, and they go through it over. They did it over a 3-year period of time. And I've been listening to those, just refresh my memory. So highly recommend this. You can look at these in my online diary, Crooked Fingers. I have photos, I have videos, YouTube videos from Open Letter. But I got that. I've been reading those. Also, I ordered a book that came in the mail last night or the night before. This one is called Vagabond, Life on the Streets of 19th-Century London by Oskar Jensen. Yeah, as you all know, I collect books on 19th century London, Victorian, Edwardian, 17th century literary life in London and things like that. And so I came across this, and I like reading about vagabonds, homeless people, people live on the streets, people just, because like I said, you know, I mentioned that in my early Christian life, I was on staff at a rescue mission in Richmond, California. And when I first did that, I thought I'd spend the rest of my life as a Christian in slums, in ghettos, in Skid Row. That's where I wanted to live. I wanted to be among the people, the homeless, the destitute, alcoholics, drug addicts, crazy people. That's what I felt my call to minister to. And then later on, when I became a Calvinist and Reformed, I got into reading the Puritans, and I started going to the Orthodox Presbyterian Church in Berkeley. I thought, well, maybe I'll get ordained and be a gospel minister and just minister to people, traditional working class, middle class people. But, as you all know, that didn't happen. I wound up never going into the ministry. And my last job was working in an egg processing plant until I got fired in June of 2007 on the 21st, which you can read about in my online diary, Crooked Fingers. And I just basically, when I got fired, my kids were out of college, going into teaching, and our oldest was working on his PhD. So my wife said, just stay home. So I've been home since 2007, reading and writing, dreaming, living like a hermit. But I got this in the mail, and yeah. As far as what I'm almost finished with Attila Bartis. I told you, I'm trying to finish reading things I've been reading, and before I start anything else. Of course, I just showed you, I start reading this, which is 700 pages. But I'm almost done with The End by Attila Bartis, translated from the Hungarian by Judith Sollosy. I'm almost done, so you can see my bookmarker. When I first started reading this, I was kind of like, I don't know about it. But I think I don't regret reading it. I don't think has blown me away, but I have found it interesting. And I have another novel of him, Tranquility, which is thinner, that I do plan to read in the future. But I don't think it was, I enjoyed it. Well, I don't know. I found it interesting. That word enjoyment, I don't know if I can say that. I don't think it was a waste of my time reading this. Even though one thing that bothered me about this is that he's really into rough sex. It's not explicitly, pages of description of rough sex, but he's kind of a, I don't know, he's a mean dude. He comes off being kind of, I don't know. Anyway, is that just Hungarian? I don't know. So as far as what I got at the Bluestocking bookstore today, used, I got this for 50 cents. This is Richard Brannigan. These are 3 of his novels. He was from the 60s. I collect him. I have his writings. And I had this already, but I wasn't really sure. And it was only 50 cents. These are 3 novels by Richard Brannigan. Confederate General from Big Sur, Dreaming of Babylon, and Hotline Monster. On the cover is Richard Brannigan, who committed suicide in 1984. He's kind of like a 60s kind of cult figure writer. I got this for 50 cents. This is Walter Benjamin, Essays and Reflections, edited with an introduction by Hannah Arnett. This is translated by John Harry Zorn. Walter Benjamin is what I collect his writings. He was a German intellectual. I think he also committed suicide right at around the end of the Second World War. He was fleeing. I can't remember all that. I could be wrong. I'm not really sure now. Anyway, these are his essays, Illuminations. When I got this, I looked at it and there are some underlines, but it was only 50 cents, so what? This I was kind of curious about. This is called The Rainy Season. Haiti since de Valar, who I think was a Haitian dictator. This is Caribbean History by Amy Walnitz. She was a journalist, and this is like history, Caribbean history of Haiti, and it was only 50 cents. So I just grabbed it. I like reading about South America, Central America, the Caribbeans. I'm really into history, and I thought it looked really interesting. It looked well written. It was written by Amy Wolitz, has written for The Nation, The Grand Street, The Village Voice, The New Republic, The Los Angeles Times. She is recipient of the Penn Martha L. Bryan Award for Nonfiction. She lives in New York City. This came out in, when did this come out? This came out in 1989. So, I collect books by Timothy Snyder. He's an authority on Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, anything like that. It's called The Black Earth, The Holocaust as History and Warning by Timothy Snyder. I have other books by him. I got this for 50 cents too. Yeah, he's written all kinds of books. I wish I had all of them. I have The Red Prince, The Secret Lives of Habsburg Archduke, Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin, Ukrainian History, Russian Policy and European Futures, The Balkans as History, as Europe, 19th Century. Just goes on and on. He's just, he's really worth reading. I'm into Eastern European history, and he's really worth reading. This is the New York Times Editor's Choice. 50 cents, you can't go wrong. I collect Europia. They're a publisher. I think they're out of Italy. I bought this for $5.70, but I get in-store credit. So this is After the War by Herve La Corre, Tale of Vengeance and Retribution. It's like historical fiction that takes place during the Algerian War with France and Algeria. But I think it's translated out of French by Sam Taylor. So I like Europia, and if I see any kind of Europia, I just buy them. And then I bought Joe Hill, the First World War and the Making of a Revolutionary Working Class Counterculture by Franklin Rosemont. Joe Hill. Yeah, I'm really interested in this whole time period of what was going on in the First World War here in America. You had the rise of unions, you had all kinds of labor strikes, and you had anarchists and communists, and all kinds of interesting were going on at that time period in America. So I got this, Joe Hill. Then I picked up a book of poetry by Jim Harrison, who I really enjoy his novels, his poetry. This is Jim Harrison Selected and New Poems, and this was published in 1982. It's a picture of him. He's no longer alive, but I collect his writings, poetry, his novels. He's just a wonderful writer. I really recommend him. And then I picked up, lastly, I bought this. It was $6 and I had in-store credit. I don't know how much I paid for it. But it's called American Midnight, The Great War, A Violent Peace and Democracy's Forgotten Crisis by Adam Hochschild. I have several of his books. He wrote King Leopold's Ghost. It's about the colonial Congo dictatorship. You can read about it. Yeah, I have a bunch of his books. King Leopold's Ghost, To End All Wars, which is the last book I read by him, Spain in Our Hearts, which is about the Spanish Civil War. Bury the Chains, which is about the slave trade between the England and America, I think it's about. But so I really like his books. I really enjoyed reading the Spain in Our Hearts, which I read a couple of years ago. This one came out in... what year did this one come out? This came out in 2022. That's kind of new. I'd never seen it. That's why I grabbed it. It was only probably I paid $3 for it. So I got America Midnight, The Great War, A Violent Peace, Democracy's Forgotten Crisis, which I look forward to reading. I like reading Jim Harrison's poetry, his novels. I like reading about the making of a revolutionary working class counterculture, First World War, Joe Hill by Franklin Rosemont. Like reading novels, translations, the Europea editions. I've always enjoyed reading these. I have probably 20 of them, maybe more, down the lower level, and I collect them. You've seen me show them over the years. Yeah, Black Earth, Holocaust as History and Mourning by Timothy Snyder. Can't go wrong reading Timothy Snyder. He's an authority on the whole Eastern European, Russia, Ukraine, what's going on there. He's just you can listen to him on YouTube. Timothy Snyder, his lectures are really worth listening to. Caribbean History, The Rainy Season by Amy Walzit. Illuminations by Walter Benjamin, Essays and Reflections. Yeah, he has a thing on Frank Kafka, an essay on Proust, Baudelaire, other things, unpacking my library, just interesting little essays and reflections. Richard Bronigan, who I've been reading him since I was in high school, and I've always enjoyed reading him. Finishing the End by Attila Bartis. Reading Remembered Part. This is the third part of a massive 2,000-page work, which I recommend. You can, like I said, you can go onto YouTube, type in his name, type in Open Letter. They have a discussion on all three of his books, which is The Invented Part 1, The Dream Part 2, and The Remembered Part 3. So I highly recommend that you get these. And also, I don't know what I'll get reading The Vagabond, A Life on the Streets, 19th Century London by Oskar Jensen, but I do plan to. I keep it on my to-be-read pile in the living room. Writing in my diary. We're coming to the end pretty soon with February, going into March. Spring, the birds. I see robins, chipmunks. Birds are getting ready to make their nest. And life just keeps going. So I hope you having a good reading week. Tomorrow is a Thursday. Like I said, I got at least 30, maybe 25 books down the lower level, used books I have not shown yet, but I'll get around to it. So once again, thank you for the new subscribers. Do thank you for your comments. Tell me what you're reading. Tell me how you're doing. Yeah, I went to my psychologist yesterday, Jim. You know, every 4 weeks I see him and we just talk. It was interesting, but I don't have time to share that with you because it's going on 25 minutes. And I just wanted to show you what I got at the Bluestocking bookstore, what I'm reading. And yeah, as far as in the morning for devotions, I've been reading Look Into Jesus by Isaac Ambrose, which I showed you. I got another copy when we were at Cheap Stacks last week. So now I have 3 of those. I've been reading that. And this morning I did break that and read New Testament Theology by Chabelle, which I really got blessed reading. And my wife and I, for devotions, we're reading, going through the Gospel of Luke now. And Valley of Vision we read, which is a collection of Puritan prayers. And then, so the Hermit Hut is okay. So I close. And until next time, may the Lord bless.